Hi, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Bilal Consultancy. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how the NEBOSH International General Certificate, IGC, can help the workplace safety management of an organization. What is NEBOSH IGC? NEBOSH IGC, also known as the NEBOSH International General Certificate in Occupational Health and Safety, is a globally recognized qualification that provides learners with a comprehensive understanding of the principles and practices of occupational health and safety, OHS. It is a Level 3 qualification on the UK National Qualifications Framework, and it is suitable for anyone who wants to develop their OHS knowledge and skills, regardless of their industry or sector. How can NEBOSH IGC help with workplace safety management? NEBOSH IGC can help organizations in a number of ways to improve their workplace safety management, including reducing the risk of workplace accidents and injuries. NEBOSH IGC teaches learners how to identify, assess, and control workplace hazards. This includes both physical hazards, such as machinery, chemicals, and electricity, and psychosocial hazards, such as stress, bullying, and workplace violence. NEBOSH IGC also teaches learners how to develop and implement risk management plans. This helps organizations to identify and prioritize risks, and to develop and implement appropriate controls to mitigate those risks. By reducing the risk of workplace accidents and injuries, NEBOSH IGC can help organizations to save money on costs such as lost productivity, medical expenses, and legal costs. Improving employee morale and productivity. When employees feel safe and cared for, they are more likely to be motivated and productive. NEBOSH IGC can help organizations create a safer and healthier workplace, which can lead to improved employee morale and productivity. NEBOSH IGC also teaches learners how to promote health and well-being in the workplace. This can help to reduce the number of sick days that employees take, and it can also improve employee morale and productivity. Demonstrating a commitment to health and safety. By having employees who are qualified in NEBOSH IGC, organizations can demonstrate their commitment to health and safety to their employees, customers, and other stakeholders. This can help to improve the organization's reputation and attract and retain customers and employees. NEBOSH IGC is a globally recognized qualification, so it is a valuable asset for organizations that operate in multiple countries. Complying with health and safety legislation. NEBOSH IGC covers the key health and safety legislation in many countries around the world. By having employees who are qualified in NEBOSH IGC, organizations can help to ensure that they are complying with all relevant health and safety legislation. This can help organizations to avoid fines and other penalties, and it can also help to protect the organization from legal liability. Benefits of having employees who are qualified in NEBOSH IGC. Increased safety awareness. NEBOSH IGC teaches learners about the importance of health and safety and how to identify and control workplace hazards. This knowledge can be shared with other employees, helping to increase safety awareness throughout the organization. Improved risk management. NEBOSH IGC teaches learners how to carry out risk assessments and develop and implement risk management plans. This helps organizations to identify and prioritize risks, and to develop and implement appropriate controls to mitigate those risks. Enhanced safety culture. A positive safety culture is one where employees are engaged in health and safety and where everyone feels responsible for their own safety and the safety of others. NEBOSH qualified employees can help to promote a positive safety culture by sharing their knowledge and skills with other employees, and by leading by example. Reduced costs. Accidents and injuries can cost organizations a significant amount of money in terms of lost productivity, medical expenses, and legal costs. By having employees who are qualified in NEBOSH IGC, organizations can help to reduce the risk of accidents and injuries happening in the workplace, which can lead to reduced costs. In addition to the benefits listed above, NEBOSH qualified employees can also help organizations to improve their compliance with health and safety legislation, attract and retain top talent, gain a competitive advantage, improve their reputation. Examples of how NEBOSH qualified employees can help organizations to improve workplace safety management. A NEBOSH qualified employee could help to develop and implement a new risk management system for the organization. A NEBOSH qualified employee could help to train other employees on health and safety procedures. A NEBOSH qualified employee could lead investigations into accidents and incidents, and identify ways to prevent them from happening again. A NEBOSH qualified employee could develop and implement emergency response plans. Overall, NEBOSH qualified employees can play a valuable role in helping organizations to improve their workplace safety management. Now let's discuss about NEBOSH IGC case studies. It's important to be familiar with a variety of different NEBOSH IGC case studies, so that you can be prepared for anything that comes up on the exam. In this video, we're also going to take a look at some of the most common NEBOSH IGC case studies, and we'll discuss the hazards and risks that are typically associated with them. Case Study 1. Construction worker falls from height. Introduction. This is a very common NEBOSH IGC case study, and it's one that you're sure to come across on the exam. The case study typically describes a construction worker who falls from a height, sustaining serious injuries or even death. The hazards and risks associated with this case study include working at height without a harness, poor scaffolding construction, and lack of training in working at height. Case study. A construction worker is working on a scaffold at height. The worker is not wearing a harness, and they fall from the scaffold, sustaining serious injuries. The worker is hospitalized and undergoes surgery, but they eventually die from their injuries. Hazards and risks. The hazards and risks associated with this case study include working at height without a harness. This is the most obvious hazard in this case study. The workers fell from height because they were not wearing a harness, which would have prevented them from falling to the ground. Poor scaffolding construction. Scaffolding must be properly constructed and maintained in order to be safe for workers to use. If the scaffolding is not properly constructed, it could collapse, causing workers to fall. Lack of training on working at height. Workers who work at height must be properly trained on how to do so safely. This includes training on how to use harnesses and other safety equipment, as well as training on how to identify and avoid hazards. Recommendations. The following recommendations can help to prevent falls from height on construction sites. Employers must provide workers with the appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, including harnesses when working at height. Employers must ensure that all scaffolding is properly constructed and maintained. Workers must be properly trained on how to work at height safely. This training should include instruction on the use of PPE and the identification and avoidance of hazards. Conclusion. Falls from height are a major cause of injuries and deaths in the construction industry. By taking the necessary precautions, employers and workers can help to prevent these tragedies. In addition to the recommendations above, employers can also help to prevent falls from height by conducting regular risk assessments of all work activities at height, developing and implementing safe work procedures for all work activities at height, supervising workers closely to ensure that they are following safe work procedures. By taking these steps, employers can help to create a safer working environment for all employees. Case Study 2. Employee injured by machine. Introduction. This is another common NEBOSH IGC case study. The case study typically describes an employee who is injured by a machine, often due to a lack of guarding on the machine, poor training on how to operate the machine, or failure to follow safety procedures. Case study. An employee is operating a machine when they get their hand caught in the machine. The employee sustained serious injuries, including a severed finger. The employee is hospitalized and undergoes surgery, but the finger cannot be saved. Hazards and risks. The hazards and risks associated with this case study include lack of guarding on the machine. The machine should have had guarding in place to prevent the employee's hand from getting caught in the machine. Poor training on how to operate the machine. The employee should have been properly trained on how to operate the machine safely. This training should have included instruction on the hazards of the machine and how to avoid them. Failure to follow safety procedures. The employee may have failed to follow safety procedures, such as wearing gloves or locking out the machine before performing maintenance. Recommendations. The following recommendations can help to prevent employee injuries from machines. Employers must ensure that all machines are properly guarded to prevent workers from coming into contact with moving parts. Employers must provide workers with the appropriate PPE for the job, such as gloves and safety glasses. Workers must be properly trained on how to operate machines safely. This training should include instruction on the hazards of the machine and how to avoid them. Workers must follow all safety procedures when operating machines. Conclusion: employee injuries from machines are a major cause of injuries and deaths in the workplace. By taking the necessary precautions, employers and workers can help to prevent these tragedies. In addition to the recommendations above, employers can also help to prevent employee injuries from machines by conducting regular risk assessments of all work activities involving machines, developing and implementing safe work procedures for all work activities involving machines, supervising workers closely to ensure that they are following safe work procedures. Case Study 3: Exposure to hazardous chemicals. Introduction. This is another common NEBOSH IGC case study. The case study typically describes an employee exposed to hazardous chemicals, often due to a lack of PPE, poor training on working with hazardous chemicals, or failure to follow safety procedures. Case study. An employee is working with hazardous chemicals without wearing the appropriate PPE. The employee is exposed to the chemicals and suffers serious health problems, including respiratory problems and skin burns. The employee is hospitalized and undergoes treatment, but they are left with permanent health problems. Hazards and risks. The hazards and risks associated with this case study include exposure to hazardous chemicals. Hazardous chemicals can cause a variety of health problems, including respiratory problems, skin burns, cancer, and death. Lack of PPE. PPE is essential for protecting workers from exposure to hazardous chemicals. Without PPE, workers are at risk of serious injury or illness. Poor training on how to work with hazardous chemicals. Workers must be properly trained on how to work with hazardous chemicals safely. This training should include instruction on the hazards of the chemicals, how to use PPE, and how to identify and avoid hazards. Recommendations. The following recommendations can help to prevent employee exposure to hazardous chemicals. Employers must ensure that all hazardous chemicals are properly labeled and stored. Employers must provide workers with the appropriate PPE for the job, such as respirators, gloves, and safety glasses. Workers must be properly trained on how to work with hazardous chemicals safely. This training should include instruction on the hazards of the chemicals, how to use PPE, and how to identify and avoid hazards. Workers must follow all safety procedures when working with hazardous chemicals. Conclusion. Employee exposure to hazardous chemicals is a major cause of injuries and illnesses in the workplace. By taking the necessary precautions, employers and workers can help to prevent these tragedies. In addition to the recommendations above, employers can also help to prevent employee exposure to hazardous chemicals by conducting regular risk assessments of all work activities involving hazardous chemicals, developing and implementing safe work procedures for all work activities involving hazardous chemicals, supervising workers closely to ensure that they are following safe work procedures. By taking these steps, employers can help to create a safer working environment for all employees. Additional information. Hazardous chemicals are any chemicals that can cause harm to people or the environment. They can be in the form of gases, liquids, solids, or dust. Hazardous chemicals can be found in many different workplaces, including factories, warehouses, construction sites, and laboratories. Some examples of hazardous chemicals include solvents, acids, bases, pesticides, toxic metals, flammable liquids, oxidizing agents. Exposure to hazardous chemicals can cause a variety of health problems, depending on the type of chemical and the route of exposure. Some common health problems associated with exposure to hazardous chemicals include respiratory problems, skin burns, eye irritation, cancer, death. It is important for employers to take steps to protect workers from exposure to hazardous chemicals. This includes providing workers with the appropriate PPE, training workers on how to work with hazardous chemicals safely, and Developing and implementing safe work procedures. How can employees prepare for the NEBOSH IGC exam? Here are some additional details on how employees can prepare for the NEBOSH IGC exam. Take a NEBOSH IGC course. This is the best way to prepare for the exam, as it will give you a comprehensive understanding of the syllabus and provide you with the opportunity to practice answering exam-style questions. There are many different NEBOSH IGC courses available, both online and in person, so you can choose the one that best suits your needs and learning style. Self-study. If you are unable to take a course, it is still possible to self-study for the NEBOSH IGC exam. However, it is important to be disciplined and to use high-quality study materials. There are a number of different NEBOSH IGC study guides and textbooks are available, as well as online resources such as practice exams and tutorials. Join a study group. Joining a study group can be a great way to prepare for the NEBOSH IGC exam. Study groups can provide you with support and motivation, and they can also be a good way to discuss the material and learn from each other. You can find NEBOSH IGC study groups online or through your local branch of the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, IOSH. Here are some additional tips for preparing for the NEBOSH IGC exam. Start studying early. The NEBOSH IGC syllabus is comprehensive, so it is important to start studying early. This will give you enough time to cover all of the material and to practice answering exam-style questions. Create a study schedule. Create a study schedule that is realistic and achievable. Break down the syllabus into smaller chunks and schedule time to study each chunk. Use a variety of study materials. Use a variety of study materials, such as study guides, textbooks, online resources, and practice exams. This will help you to learn the material in different ways and to identify any areas where you need additional support. Take breaks. It is important to take breaks when studying, especially if you are self-studying. Get up and move around every 20-30 minutes to avoid getting too tired or losing focus. Get enough sleep. Make sure you are getting enough sleep before the exam. This will help you to be alert and focused on the day of the exam. Conclusion. NEBOSH IGC is a globally recognized qualification that provides learners with a comprehensive understanding of the principles and practices of occupational health and safety, OHS. It is a valuable qualification for both individuals and organizations. For individuals, NEBOSH IGC can lead to career advancement in a variety of industries, including health and safety, construction, manufacturing, and logistics. It is also a useful qualification for people who want to start their own business in the health and safety sector. For organizations, NEBOSH IGC can help to improve workplace safety management in a number of ways, including reducing the risk of accidents and injuries, improving employee morale and productivity, demonstrating a commitment to health and safety, complying with health and safety legislation. In addition to these benefits, NEBOSH IGC can also help organizations to improve their safety culture, enhance their incident investigation and management procedures, develop and implement emergency response plans. Overall, NEBOSH IGC is a valuable qualification for both individuals and organizations. It can help individuals to develop their OHS knowledge and skills can help organizations to improve their workplace safety management. If you are an organization that is looking to improve your workplace safety management, or if you are an individual who is looking to develop your OHS knowledge and skills, I encourage you to consider NEBOSH IGC. Call to action. To learn more about NEBOSH IGC, please visit the NEBOSH website or contact us for details regarding NEBOSH IGC. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more informative content.